We set the heat electronically, and we discovered later on that the boiler is somehow not working. So welcome to church life. My name's Jeff Vamus. I'm one of the pastors here at the Presbyterian Church of Lawrenceville. I've been serving here for 17 joyful years, and it's been a great pleasure of my life and privilege to serve this congregation. Welcome. And this is a great turnout. We're so glad that you're here. I wanted to make a few remarks about how we got started. You're going to hear more about the program known as WorkWell that started as CookWell. The origins of this project really started when we did a strategic planning process, the sausage-making process of strategic planning back in 2016. The result was the creation of a community center called the Community Well, which exists on the footprint of this church. We're actually expanding it physically. We're adding to it through an atrium that will appear over there. But when we crafted that vision, we realized that would affect people only around this church in a band immediately around it. And we wanted to have a greater impact than that. And so a number of us were involved and interested in ministry with those coming from incarceration. We had been doing some study about mass incarceration and the cradle to prison pipeline and all that very theoretical. And so primarily it was Gene Eicher and Tom Wilfred, who's now the board chair and vice chair, kind of fighting our way forward with sticks to get something started. And if you've ever tried to begin an organization, it is really hard, especially to do the kind of work that we do, I think. To get funding, you need a track record. To get a track record, you need funding. But somehow, by the grace of God, we started and we have grown. It's been really humbling, and I have to admit to some pride that I think we have had some success, only measured by how we have helped people and how people have been helped in this process to get their lives back together after being in prison. I want to make one last comment, though, and people who are my board colleagues know I'm a kind of broken record about this. I hope that what we do here in this organization is not just about, the product that we put out is not just about helping people get their lives back together. Obviously, that's the primary goal and mission of WorkWell. But I want to suggest, at least for me, and I do this because I'm a Christian, that's my motivation, and many of us do this because of their Christian faith. But the other product that we create is community. We can think of this work that there's some who are privileged and there are people who are in need, and we have to help those less fortunate. And I think that's a really tricky dynamic and not so helpful. But the aim, and it may be a naive one, but I think it's a worthy one, is for us to try to create community across boundaries that people rarely cross, racial boundaries, economic boundaries, and I think that, again, by the grace of God, has happened through this program. People creating friendships and relationships that never would happen except for this. And so we're enriched by being a part of this project, by volunteering, by learning from people whom we're in partnership with in this interesting process. It's also been an exercise in observing providence, because I look at Jeanette, who's going to say more about the program, and it was complete providence that we found her. That's a long story. If you're interested, I'll tell you at the reception. But every way along the road, when we needed something appeared. Someone like Jeanette appeared. And so that is just humbling, and it makes me very grateful. The final thing I'll say is we need your help. There's a few people doing this work, and it's growing, but we need your help all kinds of ways. Of course, cash is the most fungible form of help. That's good. But we also need people. So if you're inspired by the words that you'll hear from the leaders and the participants in this program, I mean, how amazing to be working with somebody like Barry, like Wendy, how amazing that our state assemblywoman, Verlina Reynolds-Jackson, is here tonight supporting us. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Ed Gittens, who is head of staff there. It's been great to get the support of so many people, but we need more. So I hope you'll be inspired to help. We'll probably say more about that later on. Without further ado, I turn it over to Jeanette Risk to tell us more about WorkWell and to introduce other colleagues who will describe the program tonight. Jeanette.
So, good evening, everyone. So, welcome to Moving Forward, a conversation about life after incarceration. And we're here for those who are virtual. We're at Lawrenceville Presbyterian Church. My name is Jeanette Risk, and I'm the director of the program. I would like to tell you just a little bit about WorkWell. It is a job training program that was started almost exactly a year ago. We just completed our 5th cohort. Next Monday, we start the 6th cohort. We have been fortunate to be backed by a coalition of nonprofit partners. Among these is the Trenton Area Soup Kitchen, the Father Center, United Way of Greater Mercer County, and of course, Uplift Workforce Solutions. The program is designed to be full-time for 4 weeks, using a job training curriculum that was designed by Uplift, a nonprofit based in Philadelphia. And one of our panelists, Barry Johnson, will be talking more about the important work that Uplift does. WorkWell helps its graduates to find meaningful employment with the goal of establishing stable lives. Our vision is to work together to equip returning citizens with job skills, dignity, and hope. We're holding tonight's session to raise awareness about the challenges faced by people who are returning to society after incarceration. Each returning citizen is an individual, and each person has their own story. Tonight's session focuses on 4 of our graduates from WorkWell who have made the transition successfully. We hope you will enjoy learning from the stories and that your interest in WorkWell will continue. At the end, you will have the opportunity to ask questions, both live here in the audience and via chat from your devices at home. If the Spirit moves you, please feel free to donate using the QR code that is on the back of the flyer or through our website. And now I'm going to introduce Dora Dunn, who's going to be our MC for tonight. Dora studied at the University of Wisconsin. She has worked at a variety of different fields, from tax accounting to screenwriting to the food industry. She has also been a professional chef in a 5-star hotel and taught at a prestigious culinary academy. Dora has been a great supporter of WorkWell and is one of our board members. We feel very fortunate to have her as part of our team and that she's going to lead the session tonight. So, Dora Dunn, thank you very much.
Hello? Okay. Ain't technology grand?
It's everywhere. Is this an extra one?
I'm really pleased to be here this evening. The last program that we did like this was very exciting. I first of all want to introduce Barry Johnson, who is the Director of Workforce Solutions, and he's going to join us. Good evening, Barry.
Good evening.
And we also have joining us Amir Ali, who is a WorkWell graduate. Amir, give a high sign. Okay. I'm sorry. And we have Stefan. Bernard.
Hello, good evening. Good evening.
Salutations.
I want everybody to have an opportunity to tell who they are and what they have been able to gain from the WorkWell program, and tell us what's going on in your lives now. And to get to that, I want us to talk about, first of all, I'd like to have Barry start us off. Okay? And tell us how you feel your program, Workforce Solutions, can dovetail with WorkWell.
Hi, everybody.
Jeanette said that the program has been up and running for about a year, and we have been involved since the inception. I believe probably a few months before the inception. We have, the curriculum that WorkWell uses is based off of our curriculum that we have in Philadelphia. So our program is in Philadelphia, and we've been around now for a little bit over 5 years. Very successful. We are on cohort 33, I believe.
Woo-hoo!
As of right now.
Congratulations.
So we do what they're doing is based off of what we're doing. I also consult for WorkWell, and I come back and forth as much as I possibly can over the bridge. That's a long drive, just in case you guys wasn't aware, especially during rush hour. But it's worth it. It's worth it to know that people are doing similar work here across the bridge, because one of the things that we look at Uplift is we want to create a program that was a little different than everywhere else, and one of those things is creating.
In what way?
Yeah. Okay. So what we're trying to do is that we create a program where people get a more holistic approach to coming home. I think a lot of programs focus just on employment.
Correct.
When it's so much deeper than that. So we try to take a trauma-informed care as well for people that are coming home. We look at employment, we look at housing, we look at getting back together with their families. It's so many issues that are going on.
For instance, that
Absolutely.
Helping people get identification.
Yes.
Because in many ways it can feel like you don't exist if you don't have state papers.
Absolutely,
I can't do anything without state papers.
Absolutely. So we help them with that. Sometimes they come home, they don't have the funding for that, and probation and parole is quick to tell them you have to get that. But if you don't have that fee, forget the birth certificate or your social security card. How are you supposed to do it?
Yeah.
Right. So we help them to get that as well, because you're absolutely correct. You don't feel like you're back until you get those type of things in your possession. You don't feel like you're a citizen until you have those things. And at any given moment, you can be stopped in the streets. Anything can happen. And if you don't have that ID, if you don't have that, then you can cause a whole other slew of issues. So that's very important. Yeah.
Good. And just briefly, could you go over what the focus that your program, beyond just the why am I having such a hard time this evening?
I understand what you're trying to say.
Okay.
So the focus shifts with the times.
All right.
So I'll say this: we started this off with a very employer-driven focus, right? Where we talked about employers. One of the things that we do is we guarantee them employment with a certain employer in our city, right? So we do that. We have that guaranteed employer at the end, which was the big draw pre-COVID,
okay.
right? COVID came along and everything changed.
Really?
100%. You weren't there. You weren't there for COVID. You missed it.
I feel like I don't know about anything before COVID.
Right.
But yeah.
So we were on a bit of a hiatus. I'll say hiatus, even though we were doing the program through Zoom, it wasn't as successful as actually doing it in person. This is a program that definitely needs to be done in person. So when we were doing it through Zoom, we were noticing that as the economy shifted to what it is now, where everywhere is hiring, right? Everybody's hiring. I mean, you walk anywhere you go, there's a sign up. You look at Taco Bell now, you pull into a drive-through and they're hiring. They have a sign up, $15 an hour at Taco Bell. So you look at that, and all of a sudden the employment piece is important, but not as important as it once was, because you can complete the program, and even if you don't have the employer, the guaranteed employment, you can still go out and get a position somewhere,
right.
As long as you're trained properly in that, right? So for us, it's more about when you get that job, how can you keep it? That's the most important thing for us, because you're going to get it, right? You're going to go out, you're going to get that position, and that's fine. But then how do you maintain that position? And that's where the psychological aspect comes in. That's where we start to address mental health. That's where we start to address different things that are there, because those things are what can get you fired within the first day of getting the position. It's preparing you for that. And a day in prison, a year in prison, 10 years in prison. I mean, trauma can hit someone quickly, right? It can happen right away, and a lot of that trauma happens before they actually are incarcerated. So some of that trauma actually happened and could have caused the incarceration. Mm-hmm. So we have to address a slew of issues before they actually go to the employer, and the employers, they look for us to train them properly so that when they do get the position, they can maintain that position. And also that position can also lead to a career. We also don't want you to just go into a position as, you know, a
Punch the
dishwasher.
clock, right.
Right, and that's all you're doing, right? We want to have it set you up for something that you can see that you can progress in that position regardless of your record. So that's important as well.
Good, good. Thank you so much and welcome. I have the similar questions for everybody. I want this to be a rich and full conversation, but I want to know where everybody is. And I wanted to talk about some of the important events in your life that have left an impression on you, whether it's been positive or negative. What are the things in your life that stand out, that are like the touchstones for you? And Amir?
Alphabetical order, huh? Well, it's a few things. You know, it goes both ways, both positive and negative. It depends on how far you want to go back, how recent. But I'll just stick with the positive because that's where my mind frame is at right now. And so, just as of recently, I mean, I have different things. I just started working on, recently Saturday was just my first day. But beforehand that, I mean, I really relied on my lady. You know, she was a positive force. When I was laying down, when things weren't happening, I mean, I filled out, no exaggeration, at least 100 applications, at least. And few of them hit back. I mean, I did about 6 or 7 onboardings in a week. I never did that in my life. But people were still not hitting back. I did the onboardings, ID, Social Security, all of that, and still weren't hitting back. So we going on 1 week, 2 weeks, and I started to get depressed again, naturally so, because I got up a little bit motivated. All right, people calling me, then I'm waiting, I'm calling. Oh, no, not yet. So naturally I started coming back down a little bit, getting depressed, falling back into those same mental habits a little bit. You know, oh, nothing's gonna go right, nothing's going right, this, that, and the third. And so I relied heavily on my lady giving me, you know, positive reinforcements, you know what I mean, telling me that you gotta keep going. And also from my mother as well, you know what I mean, I'm blessed to still have her in my life, and she's where I get all my positivity from, you know, easily. And so like I said, it's just, for the positive things, for me, those are the only things that I'm really focused on. I have a ton of negatives that have actually turned me into this positive person as well. But really right now, that's just my word. I hate to sound so redundant, but I'm just positive. That's just, I'm drilling it in my head so that I could just speak it into existence. You know, you are who you think you are. I am, therefore I think. You know, or something like that. Y'all know the quote. But yeah.
All right, Mr. Descartes. We had an opportunity to speak before we started, and I'm sorry that other people didn't get to hear the whole thing, and we really don't have time to go through the whole thing. But what impresses me is your commitment to kitchens, and we were talking about your desire to kind of hook up in a back of the house position in a bakery.
Love it.
Yeah, okay. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no higher calling. But I wish you every good fortune with that. And I think
Thank you.
the attitude that you have, what we were talking about before about how you prefer the back of the house because there's always something to do.
Which is not what you hear typically.
Right. But there is
no,
always something to do.
There is, and I prefer to stay busy.
And to you, Stefan, I posed the same question. What are the events or event in your life that you feel have left the most lasting positive or negative impression on you?
Well, for me, like I've been out since 2019. I thought that I had everything running good. I was in a positive note. I was working 2 jobs, you know, got my vehicle, started going, you know. Then COVID came, lost my job, you know, my savings, I lost all my savings. I had to start from scratch. Then going back out to the job force, putting applications in and getting a rejection, you know. Like Amir said, I started feeling a little bit depressed, you know. And places that were saying that they were giving you a second chance, you know, they were saying no. So then I spun off and I said, well, let me try WorkWell. So I came in, spoke a little bit about my story. I was doing the applications. I was on Indeed, Monster, Job Monster, everything. Everything that you can name on, I was putting applications in. They kept saying no to me. Jobs would be like, listen, put this in, UPS, I did this, mention the name brand, like FedEx, everybody's second chance, but when it comes down to it, when you do put the application, it's not second chance. So, with that being said, everybody struggles, I struggled. I started self-doubting myself. I started self-doubting that there is such thing as a second chance. I just put my head down and just grinded.
Do you, I'm struck by how you said things were not going well. You came to WorkWell. How did that affect your outcome?
WorkWell gave me that second chance, that boost that I needed. I needed something positive to uplift me and give me a better look on life. I had people skills, I had job skills, I had resume, but I needed that little oomph, that little push. That okay, so the instructor that we had, Anthony, he's a great teacher, great motivator.
Okay, are we getting an amen from everybody?
Yeah, no, that's a fact. Yeah, that's a fact. He's solid. He's solid.
Absolutely, he's the one that kept my head up. I used to tell him about the rejection of jobs. Tell him that I'd be like, yeah, I got this job on the line. It sounds good. They're gonna call me, this and that. But then I get rejected. So I have to put everything in perspective. When you're hoping for a job and you don't get it, no matter how strong or the outlook of positive, you're gonna still feel rejected. You're still gonna go a little bit down on yourself. What I could have, should have, would have, why me? But then you put everything in perspective. I did what I did, but you know what? I paid my dues. I want to go to society to be a better person. But when you go to society to be a better person, people still judge you. So when people judge you, they forget that who are you to judge? Because you don't want nobody judging you or pointing the finger at you. But then you have to realize that you're a better person because you realize that. A lot of people don't realize that. So with me personally, that WorkWell saved my life. And with that, I end.
Okay. And Bernard.
Well, I started WorkWell from my incarceration of 2021.
Okay.
I met Anthony through prison. That's how I initially met WorkWell. I wanted something better for myself, so in prison, I took that time to learn myself. When I came out of prison, I hit Anthony up and we had a conversation. We had a conversation, and WorkWell was like, if you put in the effort, you're gonna get in what you put in. So therefore, I know where I wanted to go in life, and they gave me that extra boost because it was like, we set the track and the motivation, so use us as a stepping stone. So I'm like, all right, I took time to know myself. I got a stepping stone. Let's see how far I can go just by this starting point.
It sounds like Anthony was the
Yeah,
he drives the bus.
Because Anthony talked to us like men, regardless of your background, your situation. It was like I never talk down about you or give you bad advice if I want the same thing you want. So it was cool talking to him. Like, I liked it. So that just pushed me more. And then once I got my first job, he was there with Jeanette. I told him. So we had a conversation. And one thing led for another, and then another, and then another. And my life just started boosting. I got 3 jobs, about to get my driver's license.
3? Okay, but there's only 24 hours in a day.
Yeah, it worked that way.
Okay.
I make it work.
Youth.
It's the heart. I got a drive and desire. So I got a dream and I'm going after it. So whatever it needs for me to be accomplished at that, I know my rights and my wrongs and the path not to take. Regardless of whatever choices somebody else can make, I know the choices on my own free will. And that's what I'll choose and understand about that today. I can't play the blame game if I was a part of the blame game. So therefore, I have to accept responsibility in my own actions and do what I have to do as myself, as a man, and for somebody that wants better, do it.
Okay, I just got chills, and it has nothing to do with the busted boiler. Adrian.
Yes. Can you repeat that question?
You bet. You bet. Okay. We've been talking about the events in your life that have left the most significant impression on you, whether that has been positive or negative.
Well, the most positive, being in a church right now, I would have to say is my spiritual practices. For the most part, a lot of them. I'm sorry. Excuse me. For the most part, in being in the church here, I would have to say the most impactful were my spiritual practices. As I can remember my elders mentioning Bible quotes and things like that, but it has been a lot of negative things that made me want to go further in life and try to understand them. I still experience some of the traumas, and it's difficult, but I just want to focus on the experience at WorkWell was very, very energizing. As they say, our facilitator, Mr. Anthony Batista, he worked well at doing his job. He did. And he was an excellent communicator. And I remember when Cody often said too, you know, you have to know what right looks like. And that makes a lot of sense, because sometimes, depending on how I view things in life, I was acting as an enemy to myself, because I looked at these things selfishly. And I didn't understand some things, so I've learned growing up, I've learned things that I needed to unlearn. And WorkWell helped me recognize that. And one thing I really like, that Mr. Batista helped me view it myself too, that, you know, a lot of times I can be honest, I grew up as a spoiled child, I was given a lot of things, and I kind of carried the attitude of my adult life at times and learned it's not like that. So that brought out a lot of negativity out of me. But I ended up having to learn, you know, sometimes better in life is not always adding something to it. It's possibly taking it away, sacrificing things. But I sacrificed my time, and I appreciated the time at WorkWell. The most fun part for me was the education part, like Barry said. They don't focus just on finding a job. Mm-hmm. I felt a part of being, and like I did coming up, I was always an honor student up front, and you know, I was right there, like, and it made me relive those moments when I collected a lot of certificates, the science fairs and this and that. It kind of woke something up in me again that was covered up, and through part of the horrors that were connected from my negative attitudes that led me to prison, you know. But I actually been home about 30 years now, but come to find out, you know, there's still things that affect me. Even that history, that old, the whole history of having a record, you know, is, I'm still being looked down upon regardless.
Does that make it difficult to view your incarceration as an event and not the definition of your life?
I don't totally say that, because I have to, like, respond to the quote, you have to know what right looks like. Was I doing something wrong that got me there? I have to own up and take accountability for my actions.
Certainly.
So I did some things that got me there. I didn't blame anything, but I guess I really needed the lesson, because I know I have a lot of peers that didn't survive and aren't able to tell the story now. You know, today I take my time trying to just make my good outweigh my bad, wherever it is. That's why I try to spend most of my time in doing it.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Very generous. In general, and this question is to everybody, I want to know some specifics of barriers that you've faced since you've come home, and on the other side of that, if you were all powerful, what would you do to change that for somebody else coming home? What roadblock have you faced, and what would you make disappear or fix for someone else in your shoes?
I have to say, like, some of the barriers I faced was the job, finding and support you actually do need when you come home. Like finding housing support, even food stamps, because like you get food stamps, okay, you only get food stamps. What about the cash benefits? No.
For what? I'm sorry?
Cash,
Okay.
cash benefits, no. It's a lot of things that does not happen when you go home. Like, okay, you stuck on parole, probation, or whatever. But it's a barrier, like, who do you turn to? Because you can ask for the help, but it's like limited services. So it's like you try, but the more you try is the other end of that stick saying, if you don't do this, this is where you're going.
Okay.
So it's like, listen, I'm trying. You see me trying, but regardless of, I still got to abide by somebody else's rules and regulations. So I could do what I'm going to do, or you going to allow me to continue doing it if it don't fit your standards.
Okay, so you are all powerful.
Right.
You have everything that you need, and you see someone in the same position that you were when you came home. What is the one thing that you would do to take
Give
a
them
barrier out of
stability.
it?
Give them stability. Stability.
Okay,
I'll give them stability, because if to start anything, you're going to need to be stable. Like, that's the basic of starting with something. You got to be stable to go forward. If you're not stable, you can't walk on 2 feet and keep wobbling.
okay.
You know, with that being said, I agree on that. When you do get out, they tell you that you have this place to go to, that place to go to, but they don't tell you the hoops that you have to jump through to get there. Stability is something that a lot of people don't have when they get out, because they don't place you where you did your crime per se, or the county that you came from. They put you somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Now with me, they wanted to put me in Camden County. I'm from Jersey, I'm from Trenton. They wanted to take me over there. Who do I know over there? I don't know nobody over there. Wouldn't it make sense to put me somewhere where I know people that they can help me to move forward? You don't have that. That's something that people they forget, that just because there's a bed over there, but how safe are you when they put you in that bed?
Okay.
You know? I got out. I'm a pretty big guy. I think that I don't intimidate people, and I'm not gonna let nobody intimidate me, but when I got out of prison, I was scared. You would think that I would be scared in prison, not out here.
That I don't find that surprising, but I would like to hear you, because why? What were you, can you give me a specific of what was
Why was I scared
frightening?
when I got out?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't know where I was gonna lay my head at. Family disowned me. The only ones I had on my side was my parents. Parents living in Puerto Rico. I'm starting over by myself. Yeah, I can reach out to friends, but when you're incarcerated for the years I've been incarcerated, you change everything. You change your point of view. You change your friend list. You don't have a friend list no more. You know who my friends are? My parents when I got out. Mom and dad. I'm fortunate to have both of my parents.
And you, and so it is apparent that the process of coming out of prison doesn't really prepare you for life after prison.
No, none whatsoever, because you know, they want to say that they're helping you, but also they want you to stay in the system. Because if they really wanted to help you, When you leave prison, you should have your ID. You should have your birth certificate. You should have your social security card. You should have all that. So then when you get out, you can put foot to ground and start running. But they don't do that.
Okay, I like the specificity of that recommendation. I really do. That is that's excellent.
For me, I was very fortunate. Very fortunate. When I got out, 2 weeks into me getting out, I had my license. Within that same week, I had a job when I first got out. But the pandemic wasn't here when I got out. So I was fortunate. Now, other people that got out during the pandemic were fortunate enough to move forward. Now, everything you have to make an appointment to, you can't physically go there. And then when you make an appointment, it's a month, maybe a month and a half before you get there. Then when your PO says you need a job, and you go, listen, I can't get a job because I don't have an ID. He doesn't want to hear that. As real as it is, as fortunate as it is, he wants you to have a job. He don't care about that other backside. But he's not there to help. He's not there to help you, because if he was, he'd be like, listen, I got information that, you go here, here, here. They don't say that. They go, well, don't you know anybody that can help you with that? So what do they want you to do? They want you to backtrack. They want you to fail. They don't want you to succeed, because if they don't want you to succeed, they would be there to let you move forward. Because didn't I just pay my debt to society? Didn't I just get out of prison? Why am I being incarcerated again when I get out? People don't understand that. That's exactly what's happening. You get out, you don't have that ability to move forward unless you move yourself forward, but then you get these hurdles that you have to jump. People don't understand that you have to do it on your own. Yeah, you have help. And that, for me, what I do if I had the power in your mind, help another person, because you know what? People help me, and I believe in karma. I was helped when I needed help, so I do that. I try to push as much as I can forward. Because you have to do that. Because you have to, the good that you do here, you should do it here. Because people help me out, and that's how I feel. And that's what I would do.
And so what I'm hearing from everyone, and Bernard, we haven't heard from you, or if you want to jump, anybody who wants to jump in, is that the barriers that you're facing in coming home are just the basics. It's the ground zero stuff to get you ready to move forward.
Things that you take for granted.
Right.
Or the most simple things in life. The basic things in life. ID, Social Security, birth certificate, and somewhere stable to lay your head at without you having one eye closed and one eye open. That's what I did when I got out. I didn't have to do that in prison. I didn't have to do that in prison.
I think personally the main thing is knowing exactly, as hard as it is, because there's people who may live their whole lives and don't know, but to know exactly what you want. And to flip that same thing, like if I had the power, like that's just the first true question I would ask someone who came home. Like, no, what do you want? And you might say, oh, I want a car. No, what do you want? What do you really want? I want to change. What do you want to change? I want to change my life. I want to change for the better. What do you want to make better? Like, what do you want? You have to have a target. If you don't have a target, you're aimless. And so there's no, unfortunately, there's not one without the other. You're either there or you're here. And this is what I'm telling myself. I'm not acting like, I got it all together and I'm preaching. But this is what I tell you. What do you want? You have to truly know what you want. Because when you come home, if you don't know what you want or what you're going to do, bad news, buddy. It's just more often than not, and I pray it does work out for you more often than not, it's just not going to work out. You're going to end up just jumping right back on the roller coaster. And that's just what it is. And so I feel like truly that's the most important thing, is knowing exactly what you want.
It is very important to have a plan, not just a dream.
not only that, to go off for him too, but it's the want, but it's the need. What do you really, really need? Because you can want anything that you want, but what is exactly what you need? What do you need to survive? What do you need to survive? This is what I need. It's nice to want, but is it going to coincide with what you need?
It's specific. You have to
Exactly.
be specific. You have to
Exactly.
be specific.
I believe that those are different words of saying, like I was saying, and knowing what right looks like. I have to be accountable. It's like, I hear Stephen made his statements, and I can make the same statements too, but I say, okay, I'm stating that the system didn't do this and didn't do that. I should be asking myself, what am I willing to do for myself? I have to find the motivation, because for a long time, like trying to break away from that spoiled mentality, I had to learn to earn myself. I'd rather have my hand up. And that meant I had to learn how to get hands in. All right, I have to learn the rules. What is this? I'm scrutinizing myself. I may want a lot of things and fulfill my desires, but more than likely, those aren't the best things for me. Like what Stephen just said, though, it makes a lot of sense in knowing what do I need. And that's to keep focus on the positive. We want to have a lot of negative reminders. Just got to remain hopeful. Know what right looks like.
In light of what you're all facing, which is not easy, returning home after incarceration is daunting. And I recognize that you have to change everything. And that the change has to happen from in the morning when you wake up in prison till in the evening when you wake up someplace else again, and that's jolting and jarring. And I wanted to ask Barry and have everybody chime in on this. If you feel that the challenges that were presented by the pandemic can be overcome, and are you on the way to it? I mean, is it, people are talking about, oh, we're on the way, finished with it, okay. You've answered the face has answered my question.
The guidelines change every hour. It's probably changed again, right, while we've been sitting here, right?
Yeah.
So every time you turn around, there's something different. 1 minute you have to wear masks, next minute you don't, 1 minute it's this, next minute it's that. So as long as the guidelines change, then we have to be able to adapt to whatever's going on, right? It's difficult in that it's individual. So, people, look around the room right now, right? We have people in here that are wearing masks, right? Then we have people that aren't, right? Mm-hmm. So we have some people that are okay with returning to work right now, mm-hmm. and then you have people that aren't. They aren't ready to go back to work for whatever their reasoning is. And then you have people that are used to working from home, right? The COVID hit, and then everybody that had a job and were working in office, all of a sudden they're working from home for 2 years. Shit, that can be pretty nice for some people, right? And then you say, okay, go back to the office, and they're like, I don't really want to go back to the office now. I'd rather work from home. So, we're getting that on a program level as well, because people, some people don't want to come into the buildings to do the program. So that's also tough, right? Yeah. And then you're requiring some buildings, depending on if you own the building, right, yourself, right? But if you're in someone else's building, that building may require people to be vaccinated, mm-hmm. and then you have people that say, I don't want to be vaccinated. So it's tough. It's tough trying to get everybody into one building together to get them to adapt to whatever the climate is. And on our end, and I'm sure that you guys are experiencing the same. I have 3 shots in me. I'm ready to go. I didn't get these 3 shots for nothing. Trust me. So let's go. Whatever you have, let's do it. That's how I feel, but that's not how everyone feels. Okay. So we have to adapt to that and try to be cognizant of everybody's concerns. Even though, I don't know what variant of COVID we're on right now, but as soon as you think that it's over, something else pops up. So I think people are on edge. I think people are on edge with, what to do and where to go. And we have our employers now that are, having their requirements. So our employers are coming to us and they have their requirements. And, we have people in our class I think currently we may have 12 people in our class, and we have an employer right now that says whoever comes to me has to be vaccinated,
Okay.
and have a booster. So you have to be vaccinated and have the booster shot, and that's tough. It's tough right now because you have people that want to work there, but they don't want to do that. So I think that people are just on standby, hoping that those kind of requirements go away, but I don't think they will. I don't think they will. So that's the hard part. Yeah.
Stefano.
I agree with Barry. I mean, every individual has their outlook on getting vaccinated or not, or wearing a mask or not. My job, I work at a warehouse, and you'll have maybe 3/4 of the people wearing a mask and the other one's not wearing a mask. But then you have that 6 feet, people will talk to you and there's a distance. So me personally, I would retract from that. I would pull myself away from there because I don't want to offend nobody. You know what I mean? So just when you think you're at ease and it's okay, you still have that structure that closes you in and pushes you away at the same time. So with me personally, I try to stay away as far as I can from everybody. If they want to have conversation, we'll have conversation. But other than that, people have their own outlook and their own thoughts. And I don't put my thoughts or anything in anybody else's because to each his own.
Well,
Go ahead.
okay. I would like at this point to open things up for questions from the audience, if anybody has anything that they'd like to.
You can borrow somebody else's when you want to talk. I'm the Mike Walla.
I'll piggyback off of something really quickly, Jeff, before you hand this off. I think we were talking about some of the things that we would change, right? And some of the things that are not happening. We talked a little bit about rehabilitation. I say it with air quotes because it doesn't always happen, right? We know that it's not what we expect it to be.
Right.
I think that what we see is, and what I know is that rehabilitation needs to be more of an individualized approach rather than just a general thing. We talked about, I think you said something about have a plan and not just a dream, right? A lot of times I think that what should be happening behind the walls is people should be finding out what they want to do, right? So talking about your plan and what you want to do for a career, what you want to do with your life, right, in general. So you said, this is what I need. This is the things I have, right? We talk about goals and, every program has it, right? What are your goals? What are your goals? I don't think people take that really seriously and how important it is. But when you're behind the wall, I think that they should have people in there that I know they have counselors and case managers and everybody in there, but it should be more of an individualized, what is your goals, what are your plans here, and then tell you whether or not your plan is a dream or it's actually a plan, right? Because sometimes, in my personal opinion, I feel like that when you have these goals that are unattainable, it can set you back so far. And I think that there are these goals that you could have that are attainable, but people just don't know it, right? There's so many different laws for people that have records, right? And you think, I have a record, I'm done, it's over, right? But that's not the case, right? It may be over for certain industries, but it's not over for everything. And then these industries, some other industries have ways where they say, well, if you've been, free, if you haven't had a record for the last 7 years, if you haven't had a record in the last 10 years, these are things that people behind the wall need to know, staff behind the wall need to know, so that when someone comes to them and they say, what I like to do, I like to work for this industry, they can say, okay, you can, however, here's what you have to do. Here's your plan, here's what's going on, because in the state of New Jersey, you're not going to be able to do that until you hit this benchmark, right? And then prepare them for that until they get to that benchmark. In the state of Pennsylvania, you can't do that until you hit this benchmark, right? So that they know that, because people are coming home and they just think all is lost, but it's not. It's not lost, and they still have these opportunities depending on what your record is, right? Some places won't take you if you have a violent offense. Some people won't take you if you have, a drug charge, or they will take you with a drug offense, but it has to be 5 years clean, So it's certain things that you have that they need to know, and people don't know those. And I think that people need to know that inside before they come home, so they compare themselves properly.
The only part of that statement that I'm prepared to take issue with is that I believe very strongly that no dream is unattainable. Nothing is unattainable.
I think Assemblywoman Jackson.
So thank you all for sharing your story. You're very brave, very courageous. My family has been incarcerated for 5 years to 30 years. And I'm not talking about last year, I'm talking about less than 30 days. So when you tell your stories, you're really telling your story, not just to me, but to the millions of people in New Jersey that need to hear this. I represent you in the legislature, but your story is much different than the stories that I hear from the administration. And so I come tonight because I wanted to hear from you all exactly. I have my personal story to tell, but I also want to make sure that I get affirmation that what you're saying and what my family is going through is the same thing. And I just wanted to know from your family, because you're all individualized, but you talked about your mom, you talked about your lady. How is your family and WorkWell? How did they support you as a whole? My brother was early 20s when he went to jail. My cousin was 19, he did 30 years. He's 50 now, trying to figure out how am I supposed to deal in society today. It's hard. Jail does not prepare you for that when you come home. So, you go to another county, but why? Because you're coming back where you're comfortable, where your family is, where you have those support systems. So I'm just interested to hear, how has WorkWell helped you and your family? I know your mom and dad is in Puerto Rico, but how do you cope with that as an individual and your families with the support systems? Because you're not there by yourself. You have friends or family somewhere, a co-worker, somewhere down the line, your WorkWell family that's there to support you. And I just wanted to know if we could talk about that a little bit.
I think for me personally, the WorkWell family has helped me a lot. They kept me positive, kept me with my head up. They always tell me that, you're doing a good job. Being a grown-up and hearing that sometimes, it helps you because, you're down at you put yourself down sometimes. I said, why did I put myself in that predicament? I got incarcerated, I did this and did that, but you know what? I took full responsibility. I did my time. And to have Jeanette, Anthony, Barry, Wendy, have them come, and say, look, we're proud of you, you're doing a good job, you're working, you worked at the WorkWell program, you did well with it, and that's the whole thing, is just being able to appreciate the people that appreciate you. So that's why I'm up here. I don't mind, I can do anything that they want me to do to put out the good word of the program, I would, because it helped me. You know what I mean? I have 2 jobs. Before I didn't have a job. Now I got 2 jobs. Now it's like, okay, I got enough, but I can sure use another one because I have to do what I have to do. You know what I mean? I have to move forward. And the only way that I'm going to be able to get a place, get a car, is to work. And that's what I have to do. I have to put my foot forward and just be motivated and look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is place and automobile, because I do have a job. That I'm blessed with.
For me, like I said, it came at a perfect time. And to bring it back to my lady again, she's the one who found the flyer and was like, you should give them a call or give it a try, see what they're talking about. And at this point, you like, got nothing to lose, so all right, I'll try it. And first day I talked to Anthony, and he just had good energy. He had good energy, he felt genuine, you know what I mean? I've been around enough, fraudulence and counterfeits to know when it's the opposite. And he just felt genuine, so I said I would give it a try. And it was just, for me, it was the pandemic. Had my car in the garage with cobwebs, not my literal car, but my, I was stuck, feeling stuck, don't know what to do. And then I had lost the only job I had, which I had a reference for, which is even how I got the job. I couldn't get a job without a reference. My boy put me on, told me come, this, that, and the third. So when the pandemic hit and I lost the job, it was like stuck with glue on my shoes. So WorkWell definitely And that was my initial plan, you know, to join WorkWell, because I didn't know. I actually seen the flyer, and I seen them in the kitchen. So I thought it was a cooking program. I said, all right, cool, I can get with that. So when I got there, and then it wasn't that, it kind of threw me back. But then just being there and listening to Anthony, it was more than, like I said, just the work. It was the mental things. It was the gems. It was the stay positives. It was also him keeping it real too. Like, you know, don't, you know, you know what I'm about to say. Like, you can't fake it. You know, whatever it is what it is. But you can't tell yourself anything false. Like, he just gave me the perfect advice, really. I mean, it was just perfect advice. He wasn't too, you know, it wasn't phony. He hate to keep saying that word, but he was just very extremely realistic, which is what I needed, because that's exactly where I was, dealing with nothing but raw reality. So you have to give me the raw reality, but he gave me a positive version of the raw reality and showed me, you know what I mean? No, this is what you gotta do. You know, yeah, you got some cobwebs on. This is how you remove them. This is how you keep them removed. This is how you shine up, polish, and go out the door looking like a diamond. You know what I mean? So he gave me a lot of things that I just needed to hear. Some of it was things that I already knew, but sometimes you forget what you know, and you need a little, you know, a refresher. There's nothing wrong with a refresher course. Some of the things that he told me were things that I heard 15, 20 plus years ago. I heard a counselor tell me, you know, like about same thing about 10 years ago. When going through moments, she said, don't worry about it. She said, this too will pass. And that stuck in my head, you know, and he kind of gave me those same type of gems. And don't get caught up with this. If someone closes a door, another one opens. Don't just stand and knock on it. Okay, next, let's do. You keep moving, and keep improving daily. And that's honestly what WorkWell did for me. It gave me everything I needed gem-wise, and not just the employment, because it was all good. End of story.
I look at it as WorkWell is a family. Like, WorkWell showed me my strength from what I thought I couldn't do. So it took everything and all the energy I put in, all the effort to do it wrong. It's like, why you can't turn around and make that same energy into something right? You know what you want. You know where you're going. So keep that drive. It's like, okay, I did it from jail. Came home and did it from jail. I turned around and got closer to my family after all of this. So by me being me, I involved them in my circle more. That incorporated WorkWell. So I got closer with my family, helped my family into WorkWell, and let them see my progress while they get the same help I got. So it's a strength. There you got value too.
Okay, for me, excuse me. First, I would like to share how I first heard about WorkWell, because a young lady knew that I applied for a job, and I'll just say somehow something got in the way and I couldn't get it. So one day I walked in the Trenton area soup kitchen, and she seen me and immediately told me, hey, this is something you could do. And I immediately signed up for WorkWell. Spoke with Palacios down the Trenton area soup kitchen also. But my support system, I think I count on one hand, but although one is a very special number, sometimes all it takes is one. And so that 5 is enough for me. Very, very supportive. And I'm kind of like Amir said, you know, WorkWell reminded me, it's a lot of things that I relearned and knew already, but it always kept me excited because I always liked the classroom setting. I felt just like a little kid in kindergarten. But that's a motivating factor for me. I mean, knowledge gets me excited. It does. I think that's the greatest human commodity, because I can take it anywhere I go. Nobody can take it away from me. I just want to use it properly and make it benefit me and anybody else who's near me. But I'm thankful, and I think it says it all in the title, Work Well. You know, that's a statement, and it says a lot, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Questions?
Nancy.
Jeff, I'm not clear on when you graduate from this program, are you on your own, or do you still have ties to WorkWell and people who are still helping to support you?
It's a family reunion. Basically, it's like you come back. I've been to 2 graduations after I completed the program. Like, I like to support them as much as they support me, because, like, I don't see the difference. Like, you helping more people go along, so I take the process and ride with it. Like, if I show other people, like, it did this for me and I help myself, you could do the same thing, regardless of your background or situation. Take it and run with it.
Maybe say something about Hilda, and I think something about Pastor Hilda, who's over security from United Way.
Oh, Hilda. Yeah, Hilda helped with, that's the healthcare lady, right? Okay, yeah, because I did the healthcare, yeah. I did the healthcare with Hilda. She asked about healthcare when I came home, which I did. It was too unsure. So we signed up for healthcare, and she made sure, like, if it was, like, anything you need other than, like, just to make you comfortable, she had you, like, paperwork, SSI, or try to medical, welfare, whichever direction you wanted to go, she had you.
Addressing back taxes and things like that also.
Oh.
It's definitely, they don't just throw you out the nest and say fly.
Okay.
We do tell our graduates that we will support them for the next 3 years. If they have any issues, they come back to us. We're here for them. I got to tell you, 4 years, 5 years, we're never going to stop.
I was just going to say that.
So yes, if they lose their job, something happens, they can come back. We'll help them find a different one. They lose their health insurance. They need help getting their driver's license. We are here to support them throughout. And I just love that you guys are saying the WorkWell family, because when I saw you all walking in today from different doors, it definitely felt like family reunion. It was like, yes, hi, it's so good to see you all. So.
Yeah, that's definitely how I feel. It's family. Like I said, I won't hesitate if they ask me to talk again or to do another forum like this, because they're there. You know, they let you know 3 years back and forth. You know, I have no problem explaining myself or telling my story or answering questions, or just letting them know that they're real. They really care. A lot of people say they care, but they really care.
I'll speak for Wendy and Jeanette really quickly as well. That 3-year number is intentional because most of the data that we receive from recidivism is based off of a 3-year rate. So that's why.
And as we retooled this program during COVID, we did have we started as a culinary program, but we had to mothball that because of COVID and retool under Barry's guidance, and that was emphasized by him and Uplift, that the importance of following up and continuing to support people. So that's a great question, Nancy. Others? Yes.
So this is from Facebook. How can we help find the help they need when everyone says, talk to the court judge, then it becomes overly, hugely expensive?
Why don't they ask the person that asks who do they need the help from? Because it starts with the person. You could ask, but it all comes from the person, because you have to start from somewhere. Like, if you want to ask me for help, you have a basics.
I don't understand the question.
Yeah.
Are you asking someone who's seeking judicial assistance with fighting a case?
Yes, I'm rereading it myself. Yeah, give me a second.
Interpret, Wendy, interpret.
I get I'm on the spot. This is stressful. Well, I think what she's saying is that that you're constantly told, go talk to the judge, go talk to the judge, and how can we, as WorkWell and community members, help you in that scenario? How can we help you find what you need so you can navigate the court system?
Oh, because it's other people than the judge. Like, what, a representative, like, if we need something, we'll talk to them, because it's like, if I'm going through ABC or a situation where I need that other voice for me, because at the other end, one voice ain't hearing you or choose not to listen. Then you have a voice that's listening. And then you're stuck in the middle because as the person on, you could say right or wrong, by law, you're still wrong because they say it's probation, parole, no contact. You got your own set of rules. So trying to do the right thing sometimes ends you in the wrong place. So therefore, as a third party, I would say, you're my second mouth. So if you ask me what's wrong, I would tell you all the problems you need to know. And then we could work on it together because I don't know where to go. I don't have a start. But the only thing I can start is letting you know what's going on.
And this, I thank you, Sandy, for this question and for being here. So listen carefully. WorkWell has been an awesome resource, and I'm extremely grateful for what it has offered my clients. For those on the panel who have been on or are now on probation, how could we as officers, so this is a parole officer asking the question, so I'm really happy to have you here. How could we as officers better assist you in your reintegration into society after incarceration or picking up a charge?
Can you make WorkWell instead of CRC an alternative? Because if you sit in CRC, you got a blackout period, you got a whole progress.
What is CRC?
What is CRC?
CRC is an alternative program to what you would consider WorkWell. But during CRC, it's like a blackout phase period where you sit in the building for 6 weeks without going outside. Or like, it's a period where you 2 weeks or whatever. It's a time period where you have to go, but you're sitting in the building doing the same thing over and over and over. So you get tired. You will end up back in jail because, like, listen, I'm here 24/7, 7 days a week. Most of them don't want to do it. So if I'm gonna let me enjoy something that I know that's gonna benefit me, and I want to do it. So it's an alternative because I'd rather enjoy WorkWell than feel pressure.
Not only that, you're just getting out of prison and then they're going to put you in and for 7 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever it may be, closed out, like he said, blacked out. You know what I mean? You want to be able to at least get to experience being out there. You know, like the question that she asked, how can they help? To be better informed of things that could help us.
But
Instead of saying, don't you have somebody that can help you, or did you go here? Did you go there? They have to be have more accessible programs for you to go to.
You know,
instead of closing you off and only giving you one or two, go, listen, this program worked for this. I think you'd be a good fit. Some of the parole officers don't even know how to help you because they don't want to help you. Some do, some don't. And I'm speaking from personal experience. That's all I'm saying.
I'm very grateful for that question because while I will admit straight up, I'm not sure I understand the answers that you gave. I'm glad that somebody asked specifically, as a parole officer, what can I do? And he got it straight from the horse's mouth. I'm very grateful for that question.
Yeah, because if you think about it, if like I took a chance and thought about it. If I came home from prison and had a decision to go to CRC or any other program, I still choose WorkWell. Because everything you're about to ask me, WorkWell will provide. I ain't got to worry about where I'm getting a paycheck from when I first come home, if it's that mandatory. At the end of the week, I show up 5 days a week, I got $100. Here go your proof of paycheck. Here go my starting foot. Here go everything I need to give a boost of confidence in myself. Without having to say, I gotta go 7 days or 7 weeks or 2 weeks in somewhere where it's to help and you earn it. So if you don't go, you don't get your credit for that day. So it's really off you. You determine to change, then you will.
It's the incentive. You have to look at it has to be an incentive. Because you've been locked down for so long, you know, I'm not my crime. I'm my own person, and I don't change. I'm a good person, but I made a bad choice. It's about choices. I think that people, they forget it's about choices, what you make of. You make good ones, you make bad ones. And the good choice I made was to go to WorkWell. That was the best choice I ever did.
I just wanted, I'm Jean Eicher, I'm on the board of WorkWell, and one of the things that we have been working on is the idea of a pre-release WorkWell. And I wondered how you think something like that might work, that we actually bring it into the prison prior to your release and have the same sort of program that we have now.
That's how I met WorkWell. That's how I met WorkWell, in prison. Yes.
Or you were interviewed in prison for when?
No, I got the flyer in prison.
Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't have the class.
But actually having the program in the prison.
It's
possible. Yeah,
it's a marvelous
possible,
idea.
yeah.
It's a marvelous idea. We've been working on that in Philadelphia for quite some time. We actually started to have it in SCI Phoenix, in SCI Chester, in Pennsylvania before COVID hit, and then COVID hit and put the kibosh on those plans. But it's a great idea. Jeanette and I have talked about that ad nauseum about going in the prisons and doing it in the prisons. I think it's great to get them prepared for that, and then they can come home and then go right into work, and they've already had that preparation, they already have their certification. I think it's a great idea.
I think that is definitely good, because that gives them hope. That's what you need when you get out. You need hope. You know what I mean? A lot of people, there's not a silver lining when you get out. A lot of people, they second guess themselves like I did. But I'm glad I overcome that.
But believe it or not, also behind the walls, less distraction, right? So people are used to programming behind the walls. So if you bring it behind the walls, that would just be another program, but obviously one that's better behind the walls. But it's less distraction. Once they come out and you start having programs out here, you're dealing with real life events. But if you're inside and you're still just waiting to come home, you catch them in that high level of motivation, that high level of confidence, because they'll be ready to get released. That confidence level is through the roof because you know you're getting ready to come home, and then you have this program that's guaranteeing you something when you come home as well, even if it's just certification, even if it's the stipends, right? I mean, let's talk about something on the small scale. Even if you're giving them a stipend and having that money ready for them when they're home, right? Maybe not putting it on their books, but if you're giving them $100 a week for 4 weeks and they know they're coming home to $400, guess what? That's their ID, that's their birth certificate, that's their social security card, that's their transportation. That's something for them to, when they come home, they have that. So I think that's huge. We're working on that every single day. As soon as we're able to get back in, we will.
Amir, I want to provide affirmation to you. As somebody who ran a CRC in Trenton, the whole premise behind the CRC is to make sure you're there so the CRC can get paid. Their first premise is not in terms of, most of them, let me preface this, not in terms of your betterment at 100%, but making sure that you're there for whether it's 4 hours, 6 hours, how many ever weeks, so they can get paid. But what you have to make sure that you do is advocate for yourself through these parole officers, because it's their job. It makes their job easier if they're there, because they know where you are. That's 6, 7, 8 hours during the day. They know where you are, so it's easier for them in life. But keep pushing. And I work for the Assemblywoman, and I have that background, that reentry background. So as we can keep pushing and talking to parole and looking at an alternative to CRCs, because CRCs are privately owned and they're money makers, and that's what we have to get away from, okay? And so as we look to make some changes, the Assemblywoman looks to make some changes legislatively, we will need your backing and your affirmations as we look to make these changes, because I am not a fan of CRCs. I spent a year working there, got tired of doing urine tests with gentlemen every twice a week, things of that nature, and you guys have been through that. I know you've been through it. You mentioned CRC, so you know what those 4 to 6 hours look like during the day. But it needs to be a better program similar to what WorkWell is doing now versus the CRCs that are run by the private entities, which are for-profit entities and not nonprofits like WorkWell.
Right. And that's key right there. A lot of people don't understand that they're making money and they're degrading you at the same time. You know, that's degrading, and you just got out and doing time, and you're getting degraded again. You know, that takes a toll on your character. You have to be a strong person to move forward. You know, I'm a grown man. I never knew that I would have to give a urine sample and have somebody looking at me while I'm doing my business. You know what I'm saying? But then after a while, it's you know, it's part of you trying to be a better person in society. So, you know, when you didn't follow the rules before, you got to start following the rules. So then you have to say when enough is enough, and you got to start learning how to follow rules. You know, rules are there in place for a reason, people would say. You know what I mean? So that's what you have to do. You have to put everything in perspective.
I've been told that we have time for maybe one more question. Is that right? While I'm traveling, though, yes, we have one more question over here. While I'm traveling, though, a little, if I may, commercial announcement. I'm remiss in not welcoming our guests from Light of the World Church in Hamilton, Eddie and Leroy, just because this is really we're attempting to create a community response to the problem of post-incarceration, and Light of the World provides mentoring every other Saturday during the cohort through a fraternity that also participates in that, and we just want to lift you up and give you a shout out. Thanks you for being here. And I look forward to our congregations having fellowship too at some point. We have one more question. Am I
This person
correct
right
in
here.
saying that, Dora?
Yes,
Okay.
please. This person right here.
My question directed at you guys. What do you think we, as members of the public, society here who haven't been incarcerated, what do you think we can do better to help you? Because obviously, you know, we have legislators and you guys have your lived experience, but we don't have that experience. Obviously you have family, but how can we as society better help you integrate so that you can be more productive or better citizens, if you will, as role models?
That's a wonderful question to end on. That's a wonderful question.
Treat me how you gonna treat yourself. That's all I ask for, because I understand everybody make mistakes, but you can't or give the perception of you forgive me and still judge me at the same time. It's not gonna sit. So you can have all the conversation, but if I don't feel the same way you say you see me, it will show. Right. So be as you gonna be. Treat me how I'm gonna treat you. Because I don't have nothing to lose, only stuff to gain.
Yeah, I agree. It's the same thing. It's and I know it's hard sometimes because you don't know who you're dealing with specifically. My best advice is fill it out. But definitely, I mean, people, we all humans. So it's really just that simple. It's just don't want to walk by and be like this. You know what I mean? Like people just, especially when they're trying, because when they're trying and then they get that, it's like throw that hat in the air. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's like, well, forget it then. You know, I might as well, and then you revert back down a dark road. So I just think the most thing is treat them like your friend. Even if y'all not friends, treat them like a neighbor. Treat them like someone you went to school with, because you probably did go to school. So treat them like a regular person. Just treat them like you're human. That's all. And I think that's gonna go a long way to make people feel like they're back integrated, because when they come home, they're still have an incarcerated mind state more often than not. Institutionalized. I mean, more often than not, it's almost unavoidable. You are very, very, very lucky and blessed if you come home and you're not at least a little bit institutionalized. Like you could jump back in, and when someone can't tell that you've been in jail, that's amazing. It's a beautiful thing. And more often than not, you don't get that opportunity. If someone knows, they won't even give you a chance to judge you personally or by your character, or by your interaction. They just know you've been in jail. Oh, that's it. That's all they need to know. You know, you're no good for the neighborhood. Signed, sealed, delivered. It's closed. And I just think if you could just eliminate that, then the progress would begin.
I think know the person. Know the person before you judge. You don't want to be judged. A lot of people sit here and they go, yeah, but how can we help you? The main thing is don't judge, because you don't want to be judged. Everybody in here don't want to be judged, but some people are so quick to judge. Like I said, I'm not my crime. I'm a good person. Bad choices.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was thinking, my response to that, if I may, I say, if in any given time that a human in front of you needs mercy, offer it to him, because there's going to come a day we all need God's mercy. And you know, in life we go through a lot of things and pick up a lot of different characteristics. And there's a saying I learned: a man can wear many masks, but one day forget which one is real. And, you know, we just got to be mindful of the role we play.
I'm very proud to have. I'm very proud to have been here this evening. Very glad to continue my association with WorkWell, and I'm pleased to take this opportunity to thank each of you very much for participating, and to wish you my very best. And I know that with WorkWell behind you and this congregation, that the best is coming for you. Yeah, you've worked well. Thank you, Barry. Thank you so much for coming and sharing with us what's going on across the river. And I'd like to invite everyone to join us for coffee and goodies. Thank you so much. Look at me with feet out. This is what I'd love to know more about your organization.
But you have my number.
I do. I'm going to call you.
Yep, absolutely.
You'll be so sorry. You'll be sorry. You'll be sorry.